Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. Yeah, Arnie, I know I just turned the audio up. I'm Amnon, your host for the next couple of hours, along with Steve.
Good morning, Amnon and everybody.
Good morning and happy Easter to all our listeners and happy Passover.
Munching on the eggs.
Our number is 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And today's show is being brought to you by Adamus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals. And made possible by Telestream Wirecast software. So I didn't hear. You said something about eggs?
I said, yeah, have happy fun munching on all the eggs.
Yep. Kids are going to be looking for eggs all over the world today, aren't they?
Chocolate spread all around their faces.
Yeah. Spence is helping his son build the deck this weekend, so he's not going to make it to the show. No, he's not going to make it to the show. Nick is going out with his parents for Easter breakfast, parents and family, so he's not going to be here. Mike is out of town, but he said he may be here a little later. He's moving slow. So I actually prepared to do a show all by myself, like in the early days.
All by myself.
And then Steve came in to the rescue. Yep.
Well, I'm glad I could be here on time, as occasionally I've arrived
wow, there's Mike.
A bit late. Oh, Mike's joined us. Wonderful.
Well, hello.
Hello, Mike.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Oh, you're home.
I know.
I thought you were out of town.
I was. I'm a busy guy.
Dang. I say you are.
I was in town, out of town, in town, out of town. Now I'm in town. I feel like going out of town.
Get out of town.
Have a break in between.
Jeez. I need a break.
Okay.
Well, it's good to see you.
Well, it's good to see you too. Wait a minute. I can't see you.
You can. You can see me old dog.
Okay. Probably better looking.
Actually, he is much more handsome than I am.
So what did I miss?
Really nothing.
No, we just got to the point where Amnon was saying that he was prepared to do the show on his own, and then I turned up, and then you turned up, which is quite remarkable.
Yes, it is, under the circumstances. I gotta get logged
Which
into
song is Which song is Jeff Bundy talking about? Is it legal to
Oh, the
sing
one
that
where I
song?
said where I, well, I wouldn't say I sang.
Oh,
But I
all by
made this
myself.
awful
Oh yeah,
noise of all
yeah,
by myself. Yeah.
yeah.
You wouldn't call that singing, Jeff, honestly. I think for I think there's an unwritten rule that fair use can be, um, I don't know, like one bar of a song or something like that.
That's a wives' tale.
Well, I guess it was, but you're the ideal person to steer us down the correct path, Mike.
Yeah, it's a myth. The reality, there are two issues. The first is that when you use only a small part of a song, unless you're making wrinkles and causing trouble, it's not always worth the record company's time to go after you. And that is that people try to rely on what might be referred to as a de minimis infringement. And that is, yeah, you're doing that. You shouldn't be doing it. But you know what? We've got things to do right now. We'll deal with you later. Then um, there's another aspect of it too, that even with a 30-second segment, there's a good chance that YouTube would flag it.
Okay. Well, fortunately, with my singing voice, it sounded nothing like the original.
Well, that's artistry. That's creativity.
Yep, that's a parody, in fact. Some parody is allowed.
I mean, if all you're going to do is sing the song exactly the same way that was done on this record, why not just play the record? I have some really good friends who are in a Beatles tribute band. They put out some CDs, and um, they're really fabulous. So no pun intended. And I was talking to a friend of mine. He said, "Look, well, if they sound just like the Beatles, why don't I just go get the Beatles CD?" I said, "Well, you could." I said, "But the purpose of a CD, a live CD, is to hear how well someone can emulate it in their circumstance." And I said, as far as going to see them, I'm going to keep going to see them until the real group gets back together.
Yeah, if they're that good anyway, then it's chances of you ever meeting them and hearing that again in this lifetime is not going to happen.
Yeah. So, but they really are excellent, excellent.
By the way, if anybody is playing it on a bigger monitor, then you can click on the Stream Up link under the video, and it's higher resolution.
Ooh, high resolution.
Higher
Who wouldn't
res.
want that?
Of course, it's going to use more bandwidth.
Oh no, not that.
Yeah.
Or you might reach your cap.
Speaking of using more bandwidth, I got a spam phone call yesterday, I believe it was, from Uverse, or day before yesterday, whenever it was, Uverse.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to know if I use the internet, and I said, yeah, actually I do. And they wanted to start it. Well, what do you do for? I said, look, are you selling Gigapower? Click.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I kept making her deviate from her script, and she didn't like that.
I bet she loved you.
Well, I'm not a very likable guy anyway, so.
I like doing that to telemarketers.
One story I have here is there's been a lot of talk about Google's 1 gigabit internet service. But Comcast said last week that it is planning a 2 gigabit service beginning in Atlanta.
Whoopee.
All of the ISPs seem to be outdoing each other in terms of offering faster and faster service. But why can't they compete on reasonable rates for slower speeds? That's what the writer says.
Because that's where the money is.
Well, he says
it's
my
five Me Too thing, isn't it? It's me too. Look, I can do better than that. And it's the service that's important. It's the customer service that's important, and the backup. That's what's important. Backup, customer service. That's what's important. People don't care so much about the speed in relation to the overall service they get and the cost. They're not competing on cost, which is to a lot of people the most important thing.
Well, I've never yet been on a 1 gigabit internet connection, and My network is 1 gigabit ready, at least as far as my main computer is concerned.
You mean locally?
Yeah, my LAN.
Right.
However, I would argue that without Cat 6 or Cat 5e cable, which I don't have throughout, the network is not obviously fully 1 gigabit. So the whole house can't take advantage of the 1 gigabit service. But even, which is no big deal, my main computers have Cat 6 cable going between the computer and the switch, and they're all right here within 6 feet of each other. But the problem that I keep railing about is two things. A, with 30 megabit down, I can stream anything, as far as I know, probably even 4K if I ever wanted to, which I don't. But beyond that, what good is a 1 gigabit line when you connect to a server that takes 10 seconds to load?
Right.
That's the part I don't get. And so I don't know, maybe when people become more time and speed sensitive to those sorts of things, maybe the various sites will take advantage of that. But keep in mind one thing: if a site is loaded down with Google AdWords and all that crap, where they have these referring links before they open, they're not going to open any faster.
I've noticed the same thing recently. You click on a site that used to be fairly quick, responsive, and you've got so much stuff loading when the page starts to load. Instead of loading the content and loading all the ancillary stuff in the background, load the stuff you're interested in, not the stuff you don't give two hoots about. It's madness.
Mike, as far as cabling, since I changed my local network to gigabit a couple of weeks ago, in many places, I mean, in most of the lines are just Cat 5, not even Cat 5e, and it is full speed. I did run a couple of Cat 6 cables since, because it was crazy not to. And there was one machine that was kind of on the slow side. And when I looked at the cable on that machine, it was something I've never seen before. I think I talked about it. It was an Ethernet. It was a patch cord, but it only used 4 wires out of the 8. It was working fine for all this time, but I'm sure it could not take advantage of gigabit. So I wouldn't sweat it about the cables in the house. Everything would work fine.
No, I'm not going to sweat it. I mean, like Susan uses wireless, that'll never be. I mean, that's irrelevant.
Right.
And as far as the machines that are connected by Ethernet, they're only 100 gigabit anyway, as far as I know. I doubt they're 1 gigabit LAN ports.
A lot of machines. I mean, I didn't know two of the machines on the network that I didn't even think about it turned out to be 1 gigabit when I switched the main switch.
Yep.
So a lot of them are.
Yep.
And that's neat.
But it's like people get all bent out of shape on using USB 2.0 for audio. And the fact of the matter is USB 2.0 for stereo audio is more than adequate. USB 3.0 adds absolutely nothing to a USB audio connection. The only time it comes into play is if you're doing multi-track work, which almost no one in this space is doing. Merle is having a heart attack over the audio level on StreamUp being low if you have a way of adjusting it.
It is low?
That's what he says on StreamUp.
Oh, looks like it's fine over here. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to raise it because it's showing. Is anybody else looking at StreamUp, and is the audio low?
Well, I trust Merle.
I know, but I mean, I'm wondering if if something on Merle's side. Well, no, if he's getting higher, I don't know what to tell you, Merle.
Turn it up.
Oh, I'll turn it a little more up.
No, I'm talking about Merle. Let Merle turn it up. Maybe some people don't want to hear what we're saying. They just want to see us.
Is this any better, Merle? I mean, I raised it here a little bit.
Yeah,
But I'm hitting yellows here.
Just on Stream Up, Amnon.
Yeah, I know. Stream Up is the switching machine right here, the VidBlaster machine. The other machine is doing JustCast and Daily Motion, and it's got its own volume and stuff.
Right.
I raised the volume on this machine.
Okay.
Of course, at the same time, it's going to raise it a little bit over there because I'm sending the same audio over there. I don't know.
Tim says a little more.
A what?
Tim said it is lower. Gene said it's lower.
I'll be damned.
Andrew says there's a horrible buzz on JustCast. It's all falling apart. It must be because it's Easter.
Yeah.
Well,
just live with it for now. We'll take a look at it at some point.
Yeah, but I'm also recording it on this machine, so I'm wondering if the recording is going to come out on the low side.
It's going to be fine. If it's not, you can normalize it.
Oh.
Andrew, that's the first time I realized the problem was just on JustCast. Because you're using the same machine for JustCast that you are for Daily Motion, aren't you?
Correct.
So, Andrew, switch over to Daily Motion and see if the buzz is also there. If it's in both feeds, then that narrows down where the problem is. So he can take a look at that when he gets time.
Yeah, it's got to be there because I don't see anything. I mean, if I do this, what happens now?
He says Daily Motion is offline.
No, hold it. Just listen. Do you hear anything?
I wouldn't because I have the speaker turned so low. Maybe somebody else might.
I'm on Hangout, so I don't hear.
If I raise the volume of Computers 2K Voice up, then the lights on the mixer, I got three lights constantly on without saying anything.
Okay, then there's a noise problem in that channel.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying it's low. Okay,
yeah, I'll come look at it.
Wait, here I lowered it. I closed it altogether.
Once we isolate where it's coming from, then it's easier to fix.
Daily Motion is offline. Hold it. No, it's not. Interesting. It does say offline. Let me stop it and start it. Go ahead.
So people tell us that the warts are interesting too, so we'll share all of the warts with you.
Warts might be interesting, but they're unsightly.
Well, I know a lot of people that way.
I'm saying nothing because I might get a slap.
I say nothing. I know nothing.
I know nothing. I'm from Barcelona.
Okay, play best lower, but it does sound clear. You know what, guys? We will go through everything and do our annual house cleaning and see if we can get the problem resolved.
I'll be damned.
And go from there.
Find the pesky buzz and give it the boot.
And I've been doing audio a long time, and I will tell you that gremlins pop up. I've got a gremlin in my second i7 computer. There's a noise now, just like Amnon says, that you turn up the pot and you see the little LEDs down at the bottom flickering because there is some residual noise coming through that machine. I haven't changed a thing. Not a thing. But that's not unusual in the radio business, because even we had to do that, because what happens is you change something over on the left-hand side and it affects something on the right-hand side, even though they don't look like they're connected. Totally not unusual.
Yeah, Andrew, I see that. But Wirecast is saying that it's, I mean, I disconnected, reconnected, it connected, but still nothing coming out. You're right. That is very interesting.
I sure miss
Okay, there it
Usestream
is.
before
Now
they
it's on.
screwed it up.
It just took them forever. It's up.
Okay.
All right, so all right. What were we talking about? Talking about, oh, the noise. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I don't see the thing here, so I guess I can go through the thing after the show and find out if I hear noise somewhere.
Yeah, the main thing, Amnon, when you start playing with it, the main thing is to start with that channel, that Computers 2K voice channel, with it potted all the way up, and start fiddling with that. Go with the known problems first. Sometimes when you fix those, they fix the unknown problems. But if not, it gets them out of the way quicker so that you can find the tough problems to find.
So Andrew is saying the noise is still there.
Oh, well.
Okay. Well.
So here's something that you may be interested in, Amnon, that's totally unrelated to computers and technology. There have been some stories in the news lately where some quite elderly veterans who have passed away have been cremated out of cost considerations. And in several of the cases, the family bring the ashes to the National Cemetery in Salisbury, North Carolina, for internment for free, because they're veterans. And there was a story where people are bringing these ashes in cardboard boxes and have nothing to bury them in. So this little group that I play around with, that they are generous to have me hang around and tag around in, because I love the idea of doing woodworking, but unfortunately I have no room to put up a shop. I've got an entire shop's worth of equipment and nowhere to put it. If anybody in Cary wants to set up a shop, I'll set you up if you'll let me come use it. But anyway, they're putting together a little outreach project where these woodworkers are going to make, they're called urns, but they're actually boxes that are going to be laser engraved on the bottom. They will be in the possession of the National Cemetery in Salisbury. And whenever a veteran comes in a cardboard box, they're going to put his ashes into a beautiful, weatherproof, custom-made urn for burial. So there are going to be some workshops all over the state where woodworkers are going to get together and make bunches of them and put them in inventory at the National Cemetery. And it's a very worthwhile project as far as I'm concerned.
It's a very nice thing.
Well, one of the things that kind of I guess I did a double take on is they have some guys in this group who have laser etchers. I mean, these things are very expensive machines, but they do a beautiful, beautiful job of putting lettering and things like that in wood, metal, plastic. And so the bottom panel is going to have the following words on it. And it's unfortunate that this is necessary, but let me say what it is. The wording is, "Not for sale. Thank you for your service. Compliments of ncwoodworker.net." And I questioned them. I said, why do you have to put "not for sale" on there? And they said because some funeral homes would take them and charge the families for them.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's really bad. I wish I could find a funeral home doing that. I mean, you know what? If you operate a company in the dirt like that, and that's all a funeral home is a company, social media is going to be your worst enemy.
It's despicable, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you know, it's typically the minority who make the majority look bad, and that's what it is. I'm sure most of these guys would would play fairly, but the reality is that coffins and urns are very high profit items for funeral homes, and where they can't make the profit on the urn or the coffin, they probably mark up the price of the service to a different level, and that's business. That's whatever they choose. You shop around and get the whatever you can afford and whatever makes you happy and whatever you're comfortable with. But of all the things I've wanted to do in woodworking, this project is perfect because it involves a router for making an OG top, edge on the top, uses hardwood, that uses mitered corners. I've got a link here. I don't know. I'm assuming that people here would be able to see this link. And if you can click, I just posted it in chat, and it shows the link of what's going on. This guy Sawman 101 in Newton, North Carolina, up around Hickory, is the one who is organizing the event. And there's a guy over in Zebulon who's offering to make his shop available to come over and help make these things. So I mean, this is a good group, really good group of people. Some quality people. I've learned some life lessons in the past week that I didn't want to learn, but what it tells me is that this group is a really good group. They're good, legitimate people. If you do something for them, they reciprocate, which is refreshing. And so anyway, I just noticed they got an error in their inscription, so I'll have to bring that to their attention. They've got the name of the website wrong. It's not woodworkers, it's woodworker singular. All right, you guys, why are you worried about my microphone? How many microphones do I have, Merle? I have more microphones than you have guns. And so yes, I have a PR40. In fact, I have two of them, one that I'm talking into and one that Amnon's talking into.
Right.
And as far as the shotgun mic is concerned, is this what you're talking about? It's sitting right here. This is one of the two shotgun mics that I have. And this one I'm probably going to sell it because I don't need it. I don't know why I bought it. AT897 Audio-Technica. Brand new. So, what's a mix master?
Isn't that what they call an up-to-date DJ? Is a mix master, isn't it?
You got me. I don't know.
Another thing disc jockey days is they're now mix masters, I think.
I don't know. The other thing I've learned is I'm even more out of touch than I thought I was. I tried to hold on to my youth as long as I could, but it has now left me. It's like Slim Mims used to say, my get up and go has got up and went.
Well, you know what that is, don't you?
No.
It sneaks away when you're asleep.
Just well, then stop sleeping.
You've got no choice, unfortunately. It sneaks while you're having a nap. It sneaks away and goes.
No, I mean I was older for my years growing up in the radio business because everybody around me was 6 to 10 years older than I because my father owned the station and they were the employees of the station. So those were my contemporaries at that time. And now, with the exception of Amnon, everyone in my circle is younger than I am. Most of them by 10 to 30 or 40 years. And so I try to stay, I don't try to stay current. That's not my objective, but I try to stay conversant with the people who live in this current era. And it's getting harder and harder, not because I can't figure out what's going on, but to be quite candid, some of it I'm just not interested in. Like Mix Master, I'm not interested in that.
Well, I put headphones on, and I went and listened to StreamUp and to JustCast. And yes, JustCast is louder, but if I didn't think about it, I wouldn't change the volume on my computer just because of that. It's so. But why do others can see it so clear? Yeah, it is louder, but I don't see it much louder, Andrew. I'm hooking to the laptop and just going through the internet.
You can't go by the VU meter indications on those computers,
right?
Because not only are they absolutely inaccurate, but they're not, between software, they're not calibrated to the same scale even. They're not even similarly inaccurate. But what you have to do is go by what it sounds like on the other end, and then memorize and learn what the setting is that gives you the proper output on the other end. And that's actually pretty easy to do when we get some time. I may take some time off this week if you want to work on it. And what I would have you do would be to feed a tone to all of the services at the same time. Then I would monitor over the air, or through the internet, I would monitor till I would have you adjust the feed on that computer until the tones are all equal between services. Then you would note where that indication is on that service, and that would be your target level. And you will find that they're all different. The Wirecast is, I really like Wirecast. To me, it's a good software. It's not perfect, but it's good software. But the version 5 VU meters would drive people crazy. If you set on version 5, if you set Wirecast to have 0 VU, which is what you should shoot for your peaks, if you set it to 0 VU, you'd blow the people out with distortion on the receiving end. It was totally out of calibration. And Stephen told me that in version 6, they actually got it closer to correct calibration. I'm still not sure it's correct.
No. I mean, that's closer. I was just going to ask Andrew. Andrew, is there a way to adjust the audio in Wirecast without changing it on the mixer? Because right now, when I'm talking, Mike, I mean, when you're talking in Wirecast for StreamUp, it peaks on -12.
That could be correct, though. That could be correct. It does, but the point is that it doesn't matter where it peaks as long as where it peaks is known to be the right level on the other end.
Yeah. No, but you're talking about, I mean, if I saw that on, like, when I'm looking at the same version of Wirecast on the reruns machine, and it is going almost all the way up from what I can see from here. So it is about 0. But over here, it goes up about maybe half an inch to 3/4 of an inch. That's about it. And that's the same version of the software running on the 2 machines. So when you're talking about that they fixed, I don't know that they fixed it, but I don't look at those at all. I'm looking at the DB display, the LEDs, and it's hitting yellows over there for JustCast and Daily Motion. It's hitting yellows over here on this one right here. So I don't know, but let's see. Andrew's not answering. Because I don't know. There may be also an audio settings within Wirecast that I'm not aware of.
There's a level control.
It doesn't do hard. It's all the way at the very top.
I don't know.
The one on the right side of the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all the way up to the top. It's can't go any higher. So I don't know. Anyway. Trials and tribulations. It may be the StreamUp is manipulating. I mean, I don't see why. I mean, I'm sure all of them somehow manipulate what you're sending them.
Yeah, I'd be sending it to fewer services. I'd pick two, one standard, one backup, and be done with it.
Well, I'm
Ready.
sending it to. Well, right now, what I'm doing is here's how I'm doing it now. Daily Motion, I'm sending it 550 bit. It's very low, but it's great for a phone. And the reason I'm doing this is because it is the feed that that plays on a phone. The other one on the reruns machine is using JustCast, and that's the backup. So that's it. I went from 3 to 2 on the reruns machine, and then on the switching machine, I'm using StreamUp to see how it goes. So, I mean, I want to go back to that Comcast thing. So, who needs 2 gigabits? Come on.
Comcast does.
Huh?
Comcast does.
Why do they need it? What do you mean?
It's a marketing thing.
Yeah, but I mean, when you think about consumers.
Well, who's to say who needs it?
I don't know.
You know, if you don't need it, don't buy it. Andrew needs it. Porn takes a lot of bandwidth.
And sharing porn takes even more.
I don't know. Seems to me like it's just marketing.
Yeah, if you can do it, why not do it? I mean, it's like whenever the power company started putting in 200 amp services. Who in the world is going to use 200 amps of power? You go broke doing it. But now you got so much, everything's so electrical in the house now that lots of people tax the capacity of their power service.
Andrew, if I have 3 people in the house doing what I'm doing right now here, I need 3 times more than what I'm doing here. And that will be 90 down and 15 up. And 3 people can do the same thing that I'm doing right now.
Well, you know what he means.
I know exactly what he means. Yeah. But it's just, I don't know. We'll wait and see.
So Merle says, speaking of electricity, he had to replace a GFI socket, $14 later, and it works. So that makes Merle a home improvement expert.
I'll be worried about that.
You'd be worried about
replacing
what?
If you had to replace a GFI socket, that means that it tripped so many times that it will not work anymore.
They can fail.
And how do you test if it's not tripping? That's the other thing. I don't know.
Well, it could trip and not reset. That would be a clear failure.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Is that what happened, Merle? Did it trip and not reset? Because, I mean, that has happened to me, and that's just because they wear out. The mechanisms, there's actually metal fatigue that sets in on these things. That's why one of the reasons they have you test them.
Yeah, he said that was it.
See, now I'm a home improvement expert. Mike's house.
Yeah, I know that breakers do that. I mean, if you
Same thing.
Yeah, if you trip a breaker too many times, it loses, and then it loses, and then it will trip with a lot lower load on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Absolutely.
What do you want, Tim?
I think he wants his teddy bear. Oh, Teddy Bites, sorry.
Teddy Bites. I don't even know what
Teddy
a Teddy
Bites
Bite is.
Huh. Those of you who don't subscribe to Dave's Computer Tips, actually, you can go and subscribe to it. It's on the left in the menu of links. But last night's newsletter, email, he was talking about AOMEI backupper. AOMI backupper. I never heard of this. It is apparently a free cloning program. And the reason why he was talking about it this time is because it would restore to a different platform, a different hardware, and run. And those of you that understand this, if your computer has all the drivers that are for your video card, your disk controller, everything else on for that motherboard. If you wanted to take that computer, that hard drive, and put it in another machine, you can end up making it work, but it's a lot of trying and go delete and delete this and delete that. This program will actually, when you restore it to a different hardware, will figure out what needs to be replaced. You have to tell it that you're doing it to another hardware, and it will not restore the drivers that are proprietary to your original PC. And that's nice. But the other thing about it is it's free. We're talking about terabytes programs, the image for Linux, image for Windows. Talking about Ghost, we're talking about Acronis. I mean, there's a lot of programs out there, but they all cost money. This is free. And apparently it's not that new either. So it's at www.backup-utility.com. Backup-utility.com. And the name of it is AOMI. AOME, something like that. And that's great. I mean, anybody can download it and use it. I don't see anybody saying anything in the chat, so apparently nobody heard about it. Just like me.
A buddy of mine sent me some information on a new backup service that Amazon has, and he sent it to me on April 1st, but I thought it was an April 1st joke. And he said, no, it's not. And it's unlimited backup.
Yeah.
I can't find the message.
Oh.
I hadn't even thought about bringing it to the show.
But it's probably not free.
Huh?
It's not free, though.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's free with Prime, but it was unlimited backup. Now I'm going to have to find it, because this is strange, because I thought it was on Facebook, so I'm looking at Facebook now. I've gone into chat. The last text message I have from him in chat is from 2013. So I looked at it and thinking maybe he'd done it in Skype, and the last message I have from him in Skype is on March 22nd.
Charles,
I don't know about this technology stuff.
Charles, you can do that. Charles saying loading a clone drive onto another machine and having it work would be a blessing. You can do it. I did it many a times. The trick is You can start it in safe mode on the other machine and go into Device Manager and delete all the drivers, everything. I mean, you want to end up with nothing in Device Manager. It's tricky. You have to leave the display to the hard drive controller to be the last, because otherwise it'll stop right then. I have not done it with
the mouse. Would be better.
The what?
The mouse should be the last thing that you remove. Otherwise,
that's true too. Yeah, you don't want to lose the mouse. I have not done it with Windows 7. I did it with 98 and XP. With the newer operating system, actually, if you put it on and you run it in safe mode, it will load some of the drivers that it needs as it's coming up, and then when you bring it to normal mode, it will load some more. I have not seen a blue screen of death like Dave is talking about for a long time when you do this. But the drivers are still there on that machine, and you really want to get rid of them. You want to clean it up. It would really, I mean, a nice utility for somebody to write would be to run against a drive that is not the bootable one, and tell it to go ahead and remove the video driver, the disk controller driver, all the drivers. Just tell it, go ahead to this drive and remove drivers, so you don't have to do it manually. And
we used to do that all the time in Windows 98. Work never failed.
The what?
Used to delete everything and then allow it to reinstall itself.
Right.
I mean, even Microsoft recommended that procedure. Then whenever XP came along, they said, nope, can't do it anymore.
So that's what I'm saying. It'll be nice to have a utility that will go through a drive and remove known drivers. Of course, if you choose to put it in a different place, that may be a problem, but I guess they could find out through the registry on that drive where the drivers are. I'm not a programmer, so but I guess you could do it.
We have the link that I was talking about. Brian Monroe, our friend, sent us the link that I was talking about, and it's $60 a year, unlimited everything. I just posted the link in chat. Securely store all of your photos, videos, files, and documents for $59.99 per year. When you sign up, you will download the desktop app to easily upload all of your content. Well, is that really any different from Carbonite?
It's the same price, and I'm wondering if it'll do it automatically after that, or is this just like another drive?
I seem to remember reading this myself. I don't do backups and things like that, but I think there was unlimited for 60, but I think there was some limitation to it. But for 90, it was actually fully unlimited for $90, I think. I don't know what the restriction was, but I know I read it and thought, why can they say it's unlimited for 60 and yet it excludes this bit, but if you pay 90, you do get unlimited? Well, 90 is unlimited then, not 60.
Yeah, this, as far as I know, Brian may be able to tell us that this, as far as I know, was a new offer as of about around the April 1st area, because my buddy in South Carolina who is dead, in fact, he's the guy who taught me computers back in the dark ages, stone ages. He keeps up with this stuff, and he's a Mac guy, so I mean, take that into consideration. But he sent me this on April 1st because I thought it was an April 1st joke. But anyway, Tim says Prime members already enjoyed unlimited secure photo storage plus 5 gigabytes of free storage for videos and files at no extra cost. it doesn't take very long to burn up 5 gigabytes for video files, and thankfully I'm not very seriously into video, but I will tell you that I've got some weddings and some very important events, things passed on family members, videos of those that I would very much like to have in the cloud somewhere. When I get AT&T UVerse with 1 gigabit connection, every bit of that's going to be loaded to the cloud. Right now, it would take me a month to upload it because these files, these AVI files, are very large. I mean, they're 25 megabytes, whatever that stream rate is on my HFG30 Canon camera, and it's the raw files that I want to have offloaded because, I mean, the idea of a fire scares me to death, but what are you going to do?
All right, I just did something here. I want to know if StreamUp went louder. Andrew?
Somebody needs to sign up for this 3-month trial and report back next week how it works. Someone like Andrew who has a very fast internet connection.
I wonder if they will limit your speed going up. If it actually is like with Carbonite, there's the limit. I mean, they throttle you.
And for most of the time, that's fine. It's the initial upload that kills you. Because even with throttled upload, I mean, on most connections, like a 5 megabit connection, you don't want your upload consuming all of your bandwidth while you're using it. If you have a 1 gigabit connection, you don't care. So who knows?
Andrew's saying that the level is okay now.
Fine now.
Yeah, but okay. I'm gonna undo what I did is I haven't used in Andrew in VidBlaster. Remember, there is an audio module, and I have not used that in ages. I don't even have it loaded, so I just loaded it and moved the volume up. I'm going to remove it because I see it now. It's the Wirecast indicator is jumping all the way almost up to 0. All right, I just removed it and check. Yeah, it's still going up. That's weird. Well, anyway. I don't know. Maybe you can set it and then remove the module and it'll stay up, because it's still going up. Maybe not as high. It's going to -4. Well, we'll see. Take care, Tim. And have a happy Easter. All right. Sorry if I interrupted something that you guys were talking about while I was doing this. No, I guess not. Did I lose you? No.
No, I'm reading about this burial urns project.
Steve, here's something that's from your side of the pond.
As long as I'm not blamed, then please go ahead.
No, you're not to blame.
But what if it's your fault?
Well, you can't blame me.
I love the titles that they have over there. It says the UK top IP advisor.
Yeah,
IP advisor.
In name only. He hasn't got a clue what he's doing or anything about IP, but it's just a title they've given him.
He says has published recommendations on how internet service providers should deal with online piracy. Among other things, he suggested that internet services should search for and filter infringing content proactively. According to the report, ISPs have a moral obligation to do more against online piracy. It's Mike Weatherly, a conservative MP and intellectual property advisor to UK Prime Minister David Cameron, has pushed various copyright-related topics onto the political agenda since early last year. Previously, he suggested that search engines should blacklist pirate sites. Kids should be educated on copyright ethics, and that persistent file shares should be thrown in jail. File sharers. How can one person do? I mean, sounds like I have no problem with educating kids about copyright. That's a good thing. But then you have to get together with the education minister and talk it out.
Yeah, as long as it is done in a fair and balanced way, not in the way that the entertainment industries want them educated.
Right. It's like,
as an example, you look at the way that the children are educated in the US to do with the media corporations and what the curriculum is that they suggest. Well, they don't look at the use of fair use in any way, shape, or form. Fair use is not mentioned at all in the curriculum and information that they give to the children over there. It doesn't exist. And that's not fair and balanced.
No, it's not.
And what makes me laugh about this Mike Weatherly is he says it's a moral obligation for the ISPs to police the internet. Excuse me? No, it's not. In your twisted little brain that's been manipulated by the media corporations, possibly yes, because that's the way they've told you to think. But more importantly, I would say it's your moral obligation to understand what the hell you're talking about, because you obviously don't.
Mm-hmm.
He's got no idea on how the internet works and what is achievable, as opposed to what he's being told could happen and should happen.
Yeah, and yet he's in a position where he can do these things.
Yeah, exactly. He's just an MP that was picked out, not for his knowledge and his experience and his expertise, but he was just picked out of a group of MPs because he was a friend of Cameron's and said, "Yeah, tell you what, you be the IP person dealing with IP." And he went, "Yeah, okay, that's fine. At least it gives me something to do for the massive MP salary that I get."
Don't you love government lecturing you on moral obligation?
How can he say that it's a moral obligation of the internet service provider? That's like saying it's the person that built the road. It's their obligation to ensure people don't speed down it. Give me a break.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
I'll get off my soapbox now and I'll just take 3 deep breaths to calm down. Carry on.
Oh, you're fine. Talking about cell phones. A federal judge has shut down AT&T's attempt to dismiss a lawsuit alleging the company deceived customers by throttling their mobile data speeds. The suit was filed by the Federal Trade Commission after it found AT&T was charging customers for unlimited data plans, but then throttling their bandwidth once certain thresholds were reached. AT&T tried to have the suit thrown out by saying the FTC was exceeding its authority. Judge Edward Chen disagrees, saying jurisdiction for their conduct had not yet passed to the Federal Communication Commission when it occurred. The throttling affected at least 3.5 million customers. I would say that affected a whole lot more, but people just didn't care or didn't realize. Mike, you're on Verizon, right?
Right. We had AT&T Unlimited. We never got close to anything that was of a threat to them.
Mm-hmm.
But that was also when they had 3G and not not LTE. So we let it go because and I don't know, AT&T, they're all dogs, and you just jump out of one frying pan into another fire.
Let's see what else I have here. Oh, this is not happy news. Sequoia has recently released its vulnerability review, Vulnerability Review 2015, which reports that more vulnerabilities were discovered in Chrome during 2014 than any other piece of core internet software. Almost double that of the next nearest contender, Internet Explorer. Actual results concluded by Sequoia's are Chrome 504 reported vulnerabilities, Internet Explorer 289 reported vulnerabilities, Firefox 171 reported vulnerabilities. And what happened there? Somehow we lost the... What in the world? It's still up, but I don't have video. So, there it is. It's back. Something happened on your end too, Mike? Uh-oh. No audio.
Okay.
Okay. What happened on your end? What did you see?
Not sure.
That was weird because I could still see the thumbnails at the bottom, but the main screen was black.
But I could see you. I could see me, and you were talking.
Huh.
All right. Go ahead.
All right. Well, this is really, really... I don't like it because I use Chrome. And when it does the automatic updates, you figure, well, everything is okay. But apparently, updates are done when they found that there is a vulnerability. And that means you lived with a vulnerability for so long. But I thought that Chrome was good. Apparently not. Not nice.
I don't pay a lot of attention to those vulnerability reports. There are so many agendas with regard to browsers. It's unbelievable. And it's the same way with antivirus software. Oh, this didn't find this didn't find that. I'm still reeling over this computer that I rebuilt last weekend that I spent so much time finding the problem. It's working like a champ. It's moving right along. And if it hadn't have been for that Microsoft utility, Microsoft Safety Scan, or whatever it was called, I posted the link to it. If it hadn't have been for that, I would have had to rebuild the computer.
Yeah,
after last week's show, I did have a look around actually, and that Safety Scanner, it was called Safety Scanner. It's not mentioned in that many places, to be honest. Considering it did such a wonderful job, and you were at the stage where you were pulling your hair out, you would think it would be all around the net saying, "This is what saved me."
I don't understand. I mean, it makes no sense to me either. But it is what it is, and the fact is that it worked. It worked a treat.
Yeah, it's a shame that not more people know about it.
Well, I mean, Brian Monroe's listening, and of course we've had our discussions about Apple versus Mac, but the problems with that computer are a perfect example of where Mac does beat the socks off of Windows, at least for now. I mean, no one's bothered to write that crap to hide it in a Mac. And in these guys' circumstance, if there were a computer more powerful than a Mac Mini and less expensive than a Mac Pro, They could probably make some headway in the marketplace because some of this stuff with Windows is just getting unbearable. But I believe, not only do I believe that Apple is not interested in the desktop market as evidenced by their actions, but I suspect they're going to get out of the computer business altogether. Why would they waste their time in the computer business when they're making all their money with iPhones
and watches for 10,000?
Brian said that the reason they don't talk about Microsoft Safety Scanner is the AV companies do not want Microsoft to be the answer. Well, that's true, but why isn't Microsoft talking about it? Because Microsoft wants Microsoft to be the answer.
Correct.
You would think it would be the first thing that came up on Microsoft.com when you're searching for, the answer to the problem.
Steve, in your research, I'm sorry, in your research, did you notice where they mentioned anything about it being included in Windows Update? Because it seems to me at some point there it said it was part of Windows Update.
I don't remember seeing it, excuse me, to do with Windows Update. One thing that I did see to do with Windows Update, though, remind me when we finished on this section, and I'll talk about that. But no, I didn't see it as an update.
Well, and Brian, we will agree that Microsoft Safety Scanner shouldn't be the answer. The answer should be getting rid of the vulnerabilities. No one yet has answered my question. We asked this of Mark Russinovich, who knows more about Windows probably than any other person in the world. But the question that I would ask is, why does any operating system have to have the ability to include a rootkit? I don't understand. What if Microsoft were to fix Windows so that you could not install any sort of rootkit, what other functionality would Microsoft not be able to include as part of the operating system? That's what I can't get an answer to.
Yeah, what will it screw up?
Right, because getting rid of viruses and malware, look, there's malware on Macs. It's just that it's not as prevalent, obviously. And it's going to be there. And if Macs were to get half the market, which will never happen, but if they were to get half the market, they would have equally the number of problems, if not more so, because the people who have Macs are not ready to deal with the problem. They don't believe it exists, so they're sitting ducks. But be that as it may, at this point in time, for people who have a tendency to click on things they shouldn't click on, they probably ought to get a Mac if they can live with a little mini or a laptop. The Mac Pro is so out of reach for anything that I can see that it's really down to MacBook Pro versus the Mac Mini. So, and then people say, oh, you can get a very powerful Mac Mini, you can get an i7 and a Mac. Yeah, but they're having overheating issues, and that little package is just too small for the kind of power that we're talking about on a desktop computer, like a quad-core i7 with 64 gigabytes of memory and so forth. So, Apple either needs to take one more step back into the desktop market, or did they just need to be written off for the in-between part? Most people are going with laptops for whatever, even for home computers, but I just, if they would take the Mac Mini and put it in a bigger box, that's all they would need to do because of the heating issues and maybe even the ability to add some things to it. But people talk about Macs just work, but I got to tell you, I'm part of some forums where whenever they have these Macs break, and in fact, when they need to be repaired, boy, it's the end of the world. I'm part of a forum where people actually do board level repairs of Mac computers as well as Windows-based computers, and it's ugly. And the reason it's ugly is not a criticism of Apple. It's ugly because these computers are so miniaturized that normal human beings can't repair them. You have robots that place a lot of these very micro fine parts on the motherboard, then they reflow them or airflow them or whatever to put the parts on the board, and you've got to be NASA to get them off the board. And because they are so small, so miniaturized, it probably to some extent is like doing a board level repair on an iPhone or an Android phone. It's impossible unless you have a microscope and the right tools.
Talking about Apple, an industry consultant, Cherian Abraham, put the fraud rate for Apple Pay at 6% compared with traditional credit card fraud rate that is relatively minuscule, 10 cents for every $100 spent, i.e. 1/10 of 1%. The vulnerability in Apple Pay is in the way that card issuers onboard new credit cards into the system. Because Apple wanted its system to have the simplicity for which it has become famous and wanted to make the sign-up process frictionless, the company required little beyond basic credit card information about a user, nor did it provide much information to the banks, like full phone numbers and addresses that might help them detect fraud early. The banks, desperate to become their customer's default card on Apple Pay, most add only one to their iPhones, did little to build their own defenses or to push Apple to provide more detailed information about its customers. Some bank executives acknowledged that they were so scared of Apple that they didn't speak up. Can you believe that? Bank executives acknowledged that they were so scared of Apple that they didn't speak up. This is sort of like, is this the same as was done with the housing, the mortgage stuff? Just give it to them. Never mind. If they don't have credit or they don't have good history and all, that's okay. Give it to them. And we end up paying for all that.
Boy, it's funny you should bring this up. I'm not going to go into it, but boy, have I had a life lesson on that. Ooh.
No, go into it.
No, J.P. Morgan, someone asked him, said, what's the hardest thing you've ever done in your life? And he said immediately, without thinking about it, the hardest thing he ever did was to give money to people and cause it to do more good than harm. And of course, what he's talking about would be enablement, and that is that when you give people money, you enable them. Well, I've learned quite a bit in that, and this has nothing to do with computers, but we've got some good adults here who maybe can relate to that, and I agree that this is somewhat out in left field, but I've learned that there are actually 3 types of giving. I only thought there were 2 up until recently, but now I've learned that there are 3 types of giving. The first is pure charity. We all like to do that. That's a lot of fun. It makes you feel good. And that's when you give something to somebody who has no opportunity to repay it, and you give it to them out of kindness and consideration, and your reward is the act of giving. You expect absolutely nothing in return. In fact, you refuse to have anything. That's not why you gave it. You gave it because you wanted to. The second type of giving is whenever I guess it's good old boys sharing with each other. I mean, Amnon and I do this. Amnon will say, you know what, I found something you'd really like to have. And I say, okay, here, how much is it? And he won't let me pay him for it. I find something Amnon likes. I give it to him. We don't pay each other for things. We try to keep it on even keel. That's good old boy sharing. Okay? Those are the 2 types of giving. There's actually a third type, and that's whenever you give something to somebody who can or should have the ability to reciprocate. It's not charity. They would be offended by the word charity, but they accept it as if it's charity and don't even bother, don't even try to reciprocate. That's enabling. That's wrong type of giving. You need to be really careful what you give to people, because it creates some really strange relationships.
Oh.
So I'd never thought about this until recently, and you need to be really, really careful what you do. If you give it out of charity and leave it at that. If you exchange with your buddies, that's fair. But if you're giving and enabling the other side, you're doing them a disservice.
Yep.
But the good news is, if you do it for the right reason, then the damage is limited. If you do it because you wanted to, fine.
This is a story from about 3 weeks ago, but it's got nothing to do with computers on it, but it was very interesting. CNN reports that when asked how to offset the influence of big money in politics, the president suggested it's time to make voting a requirement. Other countries have mandatory voting, said Obama. It would be transformative if everybody voted. That would counteract money more than anything. I'm not going to keep going. How is this going to... it seems to me that there'll be more money poured in because... What are you shaking your head, Mike?
I mean, the guy's brilliant.
I want to know which country has mandatory voting. I've never heard about countries.
There are countries that have mandatory voting, but then when you don't vote, they vote for you.
Oh.
Guess who they vote for?
Yeah, of course.
It is nothing but politics. I mean, they were proposing if you did not go vote, it was a $50 fine. And let me ask a nonpartisan question. Anyone, because we have people here who agree with us and those who disagree with us. Why would you want somebody showing up to vote who does not even know the names of the candidates?
Right.
What is the benefit to society of having people making decisions for the governance of the society when they don't even know one candidate versus the next?
Or that they vote for the person because of the way he dresses, the way that they look, the way, they don't really know what he's going to do for them.
Of course, neither side knows that anymore.
Well, but at least you can try as much. And look what he added. He says, it was the first time he shared the idea publicly. He says, the people who tend not to vote are young, they're lower income, they're skewed more heavily toward immigrant groups and minority groups.
And which way do they tend to vote?
In what?
Which way do they vote?
No, he said these are the people that tend not to vote.
Right, but in terms of their beliefs and the systems they follow, which parties' beliefs do they subscribe to more closely?
The party that would give them stuff.
I see.
That's what I think.
Okay, just checking.
It says there is a reason why some folks try to keep them away from the polls. At least 26 countries have compulsory voting, according to the Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance. Failure to vote is punishable by a fine. Oh, there it is, in countries such as Australia and Belgium. If you fail to pay your fine in Belgium, you could go to prison. Less than 37% of eligible voters actually voted in the 2014 midterm election, according to the Pew Charitable Trust. That means about 144 million Americans, more than the population of Russia, skipped out. Isn't that true democracy, though? I don't want to vote.
Well, no, hang on. It's the right to vote, not the obligation to vote.
Well,
I mean,
it seems to me that if there was mandatory voting, Mike, my point is, if there was mandatory voting, that there will be more money will have to be poured into ads and into changing people or to get people to do what you want.
Amnon, I don't know how any more money could be poured into politics, because if you look at the amount of money that George Soros is throwing into politics, no one can compete with it.
I understand, but the whole thing here is, when asked how to offset the influence of big money in politics,
it will never happen.
it seems to me like there'll be more money. going in
Smoke
somehow.
and mirrors. It will never happen. It's a joke. It's nothing but gamesmanship. And I will tell you, I don't care which party implements or allows mandatory voting, but I will vote against a party that supports it, even if I believe in them with them philosophically in other areas. Then it's nothing but tampering with elections. That's all it is.
It's just amazing to me that people can think like this. But consider the source.
Yep. Anyway, that's old news.
Try to pay your bill at a grocery store. The clerk don't know how to handle it.
I've got something that I came across this week. Excuse me. Has anybody else heard of GWX?
The what?
GWX.
No, I have not. I've seen a website, GMX, but that's about as close as I've been.
No, what is GWX, Steve?
My security software was popping up saying that this GWX config manager was trying to connect to the internet. And I thought, well, I've not seen that before. Where's that come from? So I did a search on the internet at the beginning of the week, and there was virtually nothing out there about this GWX config manager. Just a couple of things where people were saying, what's this GWX config manager? But nobody coming back with a response. Anyway, I denied it because I didn't know what it was, and didn't think anything more of it. Well, it happened again earlier today, and I did a search again, and there's a lot more about it on the internet now. Apparently, it was an update from Microsoft, and it stands for Get Windows 10, GWX, Get Windows 10 Config Manager. It's listed as a Windows update under knowledge base 3035583, and Microsoft admits that it's a new program that the update enables additional capabilities for Windows Update notifications when new updates are available to the user. It applies to a computer that is running Windows 8.1 or Windows 7 Service Pack 1. It's basically checks to see if Windows 10 is available because it's going to be rolled out to everybody for free. So if you see it, it goes to Microsoft, you should be fine.
GWX.
But yeah, I must admit, when I saw it, I thought, what on earth's that? I don't normally have things like this popping up because I know everything that's on the machine, but it installed as a Microsoft update, so don't be surprised to see it. GWX Config Manager.
Oh, good to know. Good to know.
It's nice to give something back.
I actually have a question for Brian since he's here this morning. I have an iPhone 6. My daughter turned me on to the dictation for sending text messages and emails. I'm really curious whose voice recognition software they're using, because it actually works pretty well. There are not a lot of tutorials on how to get the nuances to it, or a lot of people are complaining that they don't know how, like you would say, cap something, or if you got to spell an unusual word or name, you have to put it in the contacts. Or I mean, there's some hoops you have to jump through because it is a scaled down version of some software. I thought I understood someone to say that it was Dragon Naturally Speaking that had been ported to the iPhone, but I would be real curious. I may, in fact, decide to buy, if it is, I may decide to buy Dragon Naturally Speaking. When it first came out, it did not work very well. You would spend more time editing the words than you would actually typing them originally, even after you spoke them into the voice-to-text recognition. The recognition rate on the iPhone dictation is very, very good and may be worthwhile because I've got a bunch of things I'm going to be writing over the next year. This might save me a bunch of typing.
I bought Dragon Naturally Speaking back in the early 90s, and I was amazed back then at how good it was. You did have to speak in a particular sort of monotone type voice, but it was very good. I found it. It was probably about 85%, which amazed me at the time for the technology as it was around then.
There have to be ways to talk to these services that give you a better result than just talking and complaining about it, but I was not able to find anything that would direct me to doing that, and others were complaining of the same thing, and it's a legitimate complaint. I mean, for example, you say Cap America, it would make the capital A, the first letter is capitalized, but then other words are already known by the service and would capitalize them naturally. I mean, I even spoke my son's name, which is Cole, C-O-L-E, and when I spoke it to him, it capitalized it. So apparently it got it out of my contacts list.
Yeah.
The reason I'm asking is because I believe it's Amazon that has listed Dragon Naturally Speaking on sale for about 2/3 off or something like that. I need something new to do with my time, so I'm thinking about buying it.
Back in the early days, it didn't work good because there wasn't enough power in the PC to support it, really.
Well, my understanding is the way the iPhone works is that it actually uploads your voice to a server where it processes the wording and then sends it back to you because it uses data. The phone itself does not have enough processing power, which is probably why it now works so much better, because it's offloading the processing, as I understand it.
Hmm.
Checks. Who writes checks?
I do.
Really?
Yep.
Brian, you said it's doing it in real time, but I actually went one place where I didn't have any service and it wouldn't work. So why is that?
Well, I mean, taking it, sending it up, and getting it back, that's real time too.
Well, I know, but he says nope. Nope means that what I said was wrong. So if I'm wrong, I'm willing to correct it. I'm just trying to understand that why did it not work when I didn't have data service? Which I do have, which, by the way, I do have better service with Verizon than I had with AT&T, but Verizon's not perfect. I had more 3 and 4 bars than I had with Verizon. I have more 2 and 3 bars, but having said that, I have fewer 1 bars in Verizon than I had in AT&T as well. But it works amazingly well. But there's a discussion going on in some groups as to whether texting by speaking into the phone would count as texting on your phone while you're driving. I don't know the answer to that. My guess is that, knowing the law, my guess is that the law is going to count it as if you were sitting there punching in the words with your finger.
It'll take a court case to straighten that out, to make it
Probably.
clear.
Or multiple court cases, but the reality is you can you can dictate 3 or 4 sentences at a stoplight. You can't type 3 or 4 sentences at a stoplight.
Right, that's true.
And it is an excellent service, and we have certainly learned to accept less than perfect wording in text speak.
All the phones, I think all the new phones are doing it now.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It would be good to know.
I think even the old S3 that I have does it, because I think I saw Kathy doing it. And I know that Donna's, whenever she texts, she just picks it up and she talks to it and it goes. Hey, Steve.
Hello.
Are you at all familiar with British military history and stuff like that?
Yeah, not really. No,
Okay.
I never got into history much. Jorvik would be a good one to ask, but I haven't seen him around for a few days. He's really up to date with history.
Oh, Gene. Problems. Well, when Mike was asking who writes checks, and I said me, I don't write checks outside. I mean, when I'm outside, anything I purchase, I do with credit cards, but I write checks when I pay them. I see what you meant, Mike. Who's paying? Who's writing checks out there now?
Mike, you're muted, Mike.
I don't know why I keep doing that. No, businesses write checks all the time. I was talking about personal use. Honest to goodness, the checks that I'm still using on one of my accounts, you know how they will automatically imprint, or they have the first 2 digits of the year, like it'll say 19 underscore. That's what my checks still say. They still have 19 underscores the date.
That's so do mine. I haven't written a check, well, literally since 1999. That's the last time I wrote a check.
Oh, I've written checks. I mean, there are certain things you have to write checks for, but it's very infrequent. I take that back. I do write one check a month. I have one account. It's a long story, but I have one account that a draft comes out of, and I write a check out of my main checking account into that secondary account every month. But other than that, as far as I know, that's about the only check that I write. Unless it's if you got to mail a check off to DMV or something like that, sometimes I write a check for that. But
if it's not available online, invariably you can pay with a debit card on site.
Alan says Alan says do auto pay from that account. Well, we do auto pay from the main account, but there's a reason why we don't do that, and I don't even know if auto pay would be available from the main account. But my wife handles all the checking accounts, and in fact, even yesterday mentioned to her that we need to eliminate. We have 4 checking accounts, and I suggested to her that we eliminate one of the 4, which is actually the main account, and move it over to a bank where she has a second auxiliary account that she uses. And it's just, life's too complicated to waste time checking accounts.
Life is so much simpler when you've got no money. You don't have to worry about what you've got in the checking account because you know the answer.
Yeah, but you can still go open a bunch of checking accounts even if you don't have any money.
This is true, yeah. And they keep sending you through the post. Have our credit card.
Yeah.
Interest free for 6 months.
There you go.
I can't believe it. There are 16 viewers on Daily Motion. And Daily Motion is the lowest resolution, unless these are people on mobile.
Could be. It's very popular now, isn't it?
It's not the default player on the computer. So yeah, it must be people on mobile. Very interesting. Well, I don't have anything else.
I don't have anything else
either. And we don't have specials today.
And we don't have specials today.
But it's okay.
Anybody in chat have anything?
You're welcome to ring in. I can't remember the number because I'm on the Hangout, but I'm sure Amnon will speak it for us.
Or I will.
No, Alan, no
919-518-9773. Or Computers 2K Voice on Skype.
I thank you.
Heck, just put the link to the Hangout there. I was thinking about doing that this morning. If none of you guys would show up, I was going to put the link in the chat and let people come in.
My wife and I were talking about the evolution of Computers 2K Now yesterday, in fact, on the way back from Winston-Salem. And I believe the best way to describe the evolution is that back when you started the show in '93, Amnon, the resources were not available for people to deal with issues with their computers. They didn't know what to do.
Right.
And that's why, I remember being in the studio and seeing the phone. The phone just ring off the hook. You'd have one call right after the next.
Right.
Well, you haven't learned less about computers. There are not fewer people using computers, so what changed? Well, what changed was the internet.
Correct.
If someone has a computer, they're not going to wait till Sunday morning to call in to ask these guys about computers. They're going to log in now and try to get it fixed, and plus their teenagers can fix them for them in a moment's notice in many cases.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's changed. And so what that means is that seems to me the real charge of the show at this point is to kind of keep an eye on what's going on in the environment and to make you aware of some things out there. And if you want to go research them further, you can do that. But now you are better equipped to know what questions to ask.
Yeah, and it provides an outlet for some people to let off steam too.
Now, who lets off steam?
In chat.
Letting off steam's great. Were you serious about the Hangouts link?
Do what?
I said, was Amnon serious about posting the Hangouts link?
Well,
why not?
Just wanted to check before I posted it.
I'll bet you nobody will come in.
Well, I don't take bets because I'm not a betting man, but let's see.
Go ahead.
If you'd like to come in.
There you go. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
With or without a camera, but come in and speak at least, because it's kind of pointless otherwise.
And you know what? If you never been on a Hangout, then here's your chance to try it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And experience it without having to ask somebody. You know, normally if you want to, there's no way for you to test it because you're by yourself. So here's your chance to see how it works. And those of you that never used it, when you start, it may ask you to allow access to your camera and to your microphone, and say okay.
And when you do come in, if you find that it's not selected the correct device, then just go up to what looks like a cog, and you can select the correct speakers and correct microphone device and save it. Make Easter Sunday the day you hung out.
What is Alan saying that I miss single bills here? Our lowest denomination in Now Polymer is $5. I don't know what that means. Isn't Alan in Canada?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Canada did away with the $1 bill or coin bill. That's interesting. I had not heard that.
They have a $2 coin.
Our dollar and
okay. He's talking about
okay.
Yeah.
I see. They're coins instead of
Right.
paper bill. That makes sense. I get that.
But
that's true in the UK, isn't it, Steve? There's no pound bill, is there?
Nope, we haven't had a pound note for, goodness knows how many years now. It's just been pound coins. They do keep changing them because apparently they were quite easy to forge. The £2 coin is two-coloured metal. It's silver centre and a sort of brassy-looking outside. And there was a commemorative £5 coin as well.
But your first bill is £5? Your first note?
Yes.
Interesting.
Which is worth about $7.50, I think, $8 maybe.
Yeah, that's terrible.
But it's annoying because you if you want to spend $5 or £5 something, you give them a £10 note, and you end up with 4 coins. And they're a lot to carry around because invariably you forget how many coins you've got in your pocket together with all the other change, like all the other cents. So you don't think to dip your hand in to look and see how much you've got. So invariably you're walking around with £9 coins and wondering why you're walking around with a limp.
Yeah. Well, it's like anything else. You get used to it. Oh, well.
Yeah.
That was weird.
Paul Underwood looked like he was coming in and then fell out again.
That's okay. That's fine. That happens too. I mean, don't get discouraged.
Persistence is not futile.
So it's not even paper, it's polymer?
Well, the Australians, they've got I think most of their note is plastic now, isn't it? It's some form of plastic. Which is okay if you're going to leave your money in your pants as you put them through the wash.
Now, Charles, you're asking if I made any changes to the mobile. I mean, I added a mobile-friendly page. When was that, Mike? 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, 3 or 4 weeks ago, whenever we looked at the Google issue with regard to penalizing search results for non-mobile friendly pages, you went in and made a mobile friendly page.
Yeah, but all it has on it is just the player and the audio player. There's no chat on it.
Normally, though, those mobile pages, Amnon, have a link down at the bottom that says "Go to the classic page."
Yeah,
if somebody
I know.
Wants to
I'm going to, because I made one for Nissan Communications too.
Right.
And I actually built a few for some customers who wanted to have something. So, and it all works fine. It is friendlier. No need to resize. I can just click on the audio link and it's there. Yeah. Okay. All right.
And isn't that the G12.com stream, Amnon?
Yeah.
So it's low bit rate. It is not burning up your data.
Correct. That's the whole point there. But Charles, it's been there all along on the main page. If you look below the chat, you will see it. He was saying that he's using the new audio only. And I was wondering what he was talking about.
Right. Yeah, it's been there, but you had to navigate through the other stuff to find it. And now that it's mobile friendly, which actually makes a lot of sense. The good news about the show is there's really no reason to even look at video considering what you get to see.
True.
All right, we're stretching here. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah. All right. I was gonna wait. I want to ask Steve. I mean, since it's the end of the show, I want him to tell me if he recognized. I mean, Steve, remember when you connected? There was a song playing.
Yes, I do.
Did you recognize it?
No, I didn't. I must admit, I did listen for until it ended, and thinking, have I heard this before? I don't think I have. I don't recognize it. So no, it's not one I heard before.
Let me start it so you can tell me.
George can take a track with troopies on his back, carrying the packs and ammo. Doesn't look so mush when he rumbles through the bush. Even seen him climb a gumbo. Taking us along, watching over you and I. Home is far, but the wheels on the tar are a lullaby. Buddy.
Does that sound like anything?
Nope, don't recognize at all.
All right. I mean, I don't know if somebody just wrote it and sang it, or it's an actual thing. I know the video on it is somebody put together because my ferret is included in there. It took a picture of my ferret from the internet and included it in it, but I didn't know what the song was. And it's got, where is it at the end? I don't know what these things are, but
Yes, George. Take us home, boys. Roll it.
I know somebody was telling me it has something to do with Rhodesia.
Okay. That kind of style of music isn't really my cup of tea. I've got to be in the mood for lots of different types of music nowadays.
Well, this is old. All right. Okay, anyway. I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
So, again, happy Easter, happy Passover.
And the same to you, Mike, and everybody.
And likewise to you all.
And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna. Thank you, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together here. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. And while you're at it, like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. At 1 o'clock today, it's Brunch with Gisela. And at 8 o'clock tonight, it's the Tanya Love Show. See you later.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, The Tanya Love Show, Your Healthy Pet with Gisela DiCarlo. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by Atomus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.